Good morning. Good morning to another. In the previous class, we discussed characteristics of language as a structured system. Characteristics of language as a structured system. That means from linguistic structure point of view, if we consider the language, then that language has certain characteristics. That's what we discussed in the previous class, right? So we discussed that amid the desperate mass of facts, we discussed that linguistic structure stands out as a well-defined entity. It may be stand out as a well-defined entity, and we can say it is as real as the speech. Language is as real as the speech is. Then to acquaint with the working knowledge of this language, one needs to be trained. One needs some apprenticeship. This is what we discussed in the previous class. And the language system is an object that may be studied independently. Okay, how this language system may be studied independently. Among all the facts of the language, only the linguistic structure is independent, and this linguistic structure can be studied independently. Even the study itself may be independent study. So language in general is heterogeneous, but language system is homogeneous. This is what we discussed. This is also a point we discussed in the previous class. What is heterogeneous? Diverse nature. It is diverse in nature. That means many aspects may be there. Many different types of things may be there. But linguistic structure is homogeneous. Linguistic structure is of same kind. This may be unique or same kind. Okay, linguistic structure is as real as the speech is. That's what we discussed. Okay, now let us discuss today's topic, that is the languages and their place. The languages and their place in human affairs. In human affairs. That is semiology. The relation is, the field is semiology, right? So, yeah. So languages and their place in human affairs. First of all, we should understand what are those human affairs. Okay, so politics, religion, culture, tradition, economics. These are all human affairs. So a language has a particular, the above characteristics what we discussed in the previous class lead us to realize another fact. That is, listen carefully. A language has a particular place in the realm of human affairs. A language has a particular place in the realm of human affairs. Realm means a field or domain. In the field or in the domain of human affairs. Okay, maybe political, maybe politics, maybe religion, maybe culture, maybe tradition, maybe juridical and other institutions. There are many institutions in this human affairs. Now, this Ferdinand de Saussure, he wants to place the language among all those human affairs. He says that this language is also an affair of human. A human. This is also a human affair. This is also a human affair, right? So a language is a social institution. That is his proposition. A language is a social institution, but it is in various respects distinct from. Of course, it is a social institution, but it is different from other social institutions. This language study is independent. It is different. That's what he said. A language is a social institution, but it is in various respects. It is in various respects distinct from political, juridical, and other social institutions. Right? So it's a special nature. The special nature of the linguistic structure or the special nature of the language study emerges when we bring into consideration a different order of facts. When we bring into consideration a different order of facts, we can realize a special nature of language. A special nature of language. So we have to bring into consideration a different orders of the facts, a different order of the facts related to the language, a different order of facts related to the language, right? So let us see, let us try to understand what is that. A language is a system of signs. Try to understand this point carefully. A language is a system of signs expressing ideas and hence comparable to writing, the deaf dumb alphabet, symbolic rites, forms of politeness, military signals, and so on. And so on, right? See, language is a system of signs. Language is a system of signs expressing ideas. So, see, his consideration. Total language is system of signs. He considered. Okay, already we know, we discussed in the first semester. Okay, he proposed three words: language, lang, and parole. That's what we discussed in the first semester. In that we discussed there is a sign. There is a sign, or we can say a code or a word. Okay, that what we may utter or we may write. That sign may have, those signs may have signifiers and signified. Signifiers and signifiers. That's what we discussed in the first semester. Okay, that's why the same point is repeated. That's why he considered a language is a system of signs expressing ideas. Expressing ideas. Through signs, or we can say codes. Through signs or codes, we can express ideas. And he considered that total language is set of signs. The total language is a system of signs. Hence, this system of signs is comparable to writing. Not only the oral system. No, sorry, not only the oral mode. Even in writing mode, we can understand. So, this language as a system of signs. Earlier, we discussed language as a structured system. Okay, Now we are going to make a specific point. He is going to make a specific point and we are going to understand that point, right? You see, language is a system of science expressing ideas. The writing is also a system of science, and even the deaf and dumb alphabet is a system of science. And even he considered the symbolic rites which we may perform in different occasions. They are also system of science, and even the form of politeness. Even the form of politeness is also system of science, and military signals also system of science. So as they are all others are systems of science, in the same manner we can consider language as a system of science. It is therefore possible to conceive of a science which studies the role of science as part of social life. Okay, now we can conceive a science, we can feel a science, or we can understand a science, or we can come to an idea. There may be a science, which studies the role of these science, as part of social life. Okay, now the role of these linguistic science, as a part of social life, where we are studying the science as a part of social life, not individual. Okay, we are considering these science in the social phenomena. Okay, when we find the science in the social phenomena, then we can find that there is something. Okay, there is some role of the science in that social phenomena. Okay, if we are able to study the role of those science, okay, if we are able to study the role of those science, surely surely we can understand that, right? We can understand that there may be a science to study the roles of the linguistic science, Okay, now this language study, the study of linguistic science in this language, now got the shape of the science, Now this can be considered as a science, which is the human affair, right? So it would form part of social psychology and hence of general psychology. But the study of roles of science in social phenomena would form part of social psychology, in general psychology. Okay, what does it mean? Can we call it as a psychology? No. Okay, psychology is the mental study of the mental capabilities and the mental status or mental aspects of the human being. But here, though it is psychological, though it is social psychological, still we can't conclude that it is psychological. Right? So it would form part of social psychology and hence of general psychology. We shall call it semiology. He is proposing a new topic. He is proposing a new title for the study of science. For the study of science. That is semiology. 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 Okay, it would investigate what that semiology, newly proposed or newly introduced term semiology, what this semiology would investigate, what it does study, what does it study? That may be the question. Then the answer is that it would investigate the nature of science, okay, SIGNS, science, okay, the nature of science and the laws governing them. Okay, what we are going to study, or what these linguists are going to study in this semiology, they are going to investigate the nature of the science, and the laws governing them. Okay, the nature of the science and the laws governing them. Okay, so there are certain laws. That means that we can say the grammatical rules. We can say in specific word, we can say the grammatical rules, as we have in English grammar. In the same manner, there are certain laws, LAWS, laws. Okay, there are certain laws governing these systems of science, right? So, since it does not yet exist, okay, you have to understand this point. By the time this Ferdinand de Saussure proposed the word semiology, at this science does not exist. This science does not exist. Of course, there is some sense or there is some idea to study some science, but it didn't take the shape of a science. The study of science didn't take a shape of science, like all other sciences in this human affair. Right? Now, since it does not exist, one can't say for certain that it will exist. As not at by that time it was not existed. It didn't exist at that time. You may say that there is no such science. But here, Ferdinand de Saussure says that you or one can't say that it will exist. Okay, it will not exist, but it has a right to exist. It has a right to exist. Okay, so a place ready for it in advance. Even for that, that's science. What is this newly proposed science? Semiology. What does the semiology study? The semiology study the nature of the science and the governing laws governing those science. The laws governing those science. Okay, now this science will get a place because the place is ready for it in advance. He says that the place is ready in advance. Okay, then another is, of course, now we can say linguistics only the branch of the general science among all other sciences. Now this linguistics is also linguistics is one branch of this general science. In general science, there are number of branches. Among them, this linguistics is one. Okay. So, see, he started to define language and he distinguished everything, and he finally came with a particular point independent thing, that is in a linguistic structure. From that he attributed independent and a social aspect of that, and now he proposed that this can be studied as a system of science. Now science, SIGNS, science. Now this science, this study of science became a science, academic science or a general science, and it became a branch of science, right? Now, so the laws which semiology will discover. Now, in the future, by that time, he imagined in the future, linguists may study semiology. Linguists may conduct inquiry or research in semiology. In that semiology, the laws which semiology will discover will be the laws applicable in linguistics. Now, what are the laws applicable to this linguistics? That is the point. What are the laws applicable to this linguistics? That is the question. Okay, we came to know at last that this linguistics is also a science. But what are the rules that may govern this linguistics? For that, there is answer from this Petrondi session. What does he says? He says that the laws with which semiology will discover, whatever the laws that may be discovered in semiology, whatever the laws that will be discovered in semiology will be applicable in linguistics. Will be applicable in linguistics. Thus, linguistics will be assigned to a clearly defined place in the field of human knowledge. Okay, now in the field of human knowledge, in the realm of human knowledge, okay, this linguistics will be assigned a clear place, a clearly defined place. There is a place for this linguistics in the field of human knowledge, in the field of human knowledge. In such a way, now the linguistics became the science of the human affairs, right? So, it is for the psychologist to determine the exact place of semiology. It is for the psychologist to determine the exact place of the semiology. Now, as the study of this science, is a part of semiology, as a part of psychology, social psychology. Okay, we can say the psychologist. Okay, it is for the psychologist to determine the exact place of semiology. Now, who has to assign the exact place for this linguistics in the broader sense to this semiology? Okay, semiology is broader. Now, this linguistics is specific, right? Now, this is the responsibility, or it is the psychologist to determine the exact place of semiology. The linguist task is now what the linguist has to do. What the linguist has to do, that is to define what makes languages a special type of systems. This is the response. This is the task of the linguist. This is the task of the linguist to define or to make it clear what makes languages special, what makes languages a special type of system, within the totality of semiological facts. Okay, in the semiology, there are many semiological facts. There are many semiological facts. Even the culture may be system of science. The religion may be system of science. Even the human life or the social life is a system of science. Okay. Then among all these facts, what makes the language as a special system? Okay, what makes language as a special system? Among these semiological facts, okay, there is a language. There is a language, which is a special type of system, right? If we have now, for the first time, succeeded in assigning linguistics its place among the sciences, that is because we have grouped it with semiology. Now, okay, we got a position. We succeeded. We succeeded to assign a place for the linguistics among the sciences. We succeeded to assign a place for the linguistics among the sciences. That is possible. That could be possible because we have grouped it. We have grouped the linguistics with the semiology. We have grouped the linguistics with semiology. Okay, this is the language that is grouped with semiology. That's why in the broader sense, there is a semiology. In this semiology, there are many aspects or many facts regarding linguistics, regarding science. Among them, there is a linguistic science. That is, the linguistics is a special system. It is a special system, right? Then why is it that semiology is not recognized as an autonomous science with its own object of study like other sciences? Now, there is a question. There is a question from this Ferdinand de Saussure. Okay, we realized that it is a semiology. Why until then? Why until then, when this Ferdinand de Saussure proposed? Already the scholars came to, already these linguists, they are aware of this science, But here that's why he questions, why is it that semiology is not recognized as an autonomous science? Still, the semiology is not recognized. By then, this Ferdinand de Saussure proposed, still it is not recognized as an autonomous science with its own object of study, like other sciences. Okay, he questioned why there are no specific objects, why it was not recognized as an autonomous science. That is the question from Ferdinand de Saussure. Okay, really it is thinkable. What is the reason? What is the reason not to identify or not to recognize semiology as an autonomous science? Okay, for that he gives answer that the fact is that here we go round in a circle. We are baffling. We are getting some bafflement. We are confusing. We are going around. Okay, we didn't come to a straight point. We didn't come to a particular point. That is the point here. Right? We can say, and the reason for not recognizing the semiology as an autonomous science. That reason may be These scholars, these linguists, they felt nothing is more appropriate than the study of language. Nothing is more appropriate than the study of languages to bring out the nature of the semiological problem. Okay, they felt that if we study the nature of the language, if we study the nature of the language, okay, so it is enough to talk, it is enough to recognize, or it is enough to discuss the semiological problems, the nature of the semiological problems. This is a wrong opinion among the people. This is a wrong opinion among the people. Okay, the people thought that there is nothing more appropriate, or there is nothing more important to study other than the study of language. The study of language. They thought that by simply studying the language, they thought that we can understand the nature of the semiological problem. The nature of the semiological problem. That is the opinion, right? But but to formulate the problem, to formulate the problem suitably, now we have to identify the problem. That is semiological problem. Okay, but to formulate the problem suitably, it would be necessary to study what a language is in itself. Okay, now to formulate the problem suitably, okay, all the problems of the language may not be suitable to the study of the semiological problems. Study of the semiological problems, they may not be suitable. Okay, it would be necessary to study what a language is in itself. We first study what a language is in itself. What a language is in itself. Okay, what is the true nature of the language? What are the things that we may find in this language, right? Okay, until now, a language has usually been considered as a function of something else. Until now, these scholars, they consider they consider the language as a function of something else. The language as a function of something else. Okay, there is something that is functioning. Okay, from other points of view. From other points of view, there are certain points of view which concluded, which gave a statement that, or which made, or which believed, which made the scholars or linguists to believe